Dixie here. Today I want to let you know what's going on in my world and tell you about my upcoming hiking plans. First, an allergy update, and if y'all have no idea what I'm talking about, I've got a couple of videos where I discuss some allergy testing I had done and some other things that I found out might be going on autoimmune wise. So if you want to catch up and come back to this point, I'll link to some videos in the video description where I talk about those things in detail. But basically, my face has swelled up in the past while I'm backpacking. It's continued to kind of get worse over the years. So I've been discovering some things, trying some things to attempt to mitigate that. And I had been eating clean, and it seemed to be helping a lot with my facial swelling when I would wake up in the morning on trail. But here in the last several months, I've had some things going on, gone through a breakup, had some other family emergency stuff that's just kind of caused me to drop the ball on that. With that said, though, it wasn't necessarily a terrible thing because I was able to kind of test that again when I went on my trip to Iceland. I was able to see, okay, I ate clean and things seemed to clear up, but was it because I no longer use down products, or was it because of that and that I was eating clean? So in Iceland, I was not eating clean. I also wasn't hiking in an area where there were a lot of trees or grasses that I'm allergic to. So I know several of y'all commented and said, well, hey, in Iceland, you shouldn't have any allergy problems because there aren't trees and a lot of grass. But it was surprising to find out that I did have facial swelling. Now, it wasn't as bad as when I was in Wyoming and I had the worst case ever of the facial swelling. But I do think this trip, with not eating clean, but yet eliminating some other things like the down still and pollens, trees, grasses, things that I know I'm allergic to from testing, I was able to see that, hey, maybe eating clean does really make a difference for me and the way I react to allergies on trail. I still haven't done an at-home test with different gear items, sleeping on the floor or in the bed at my house where I don't wake up with facial swelling usually, or nothing significant like out on trail. So I do want to kind of piece by piece sleep with something right near my face that I would take out on trail with me and try to find out, hey, is it like all of my gear that has some sort of coating I'm allergic to or a specific thing, and just kind of hone in on that. Next, y'all might have noticed that we're getting towards the end of October here, and I'm supposed to be on the Arizona Trail, but obviously I'm not out there. I decided to postpone my thru hike of the Arizona Trail for a couple of reasons. First, I really would prefer to do it in a Nobo northbound direction because I want to have my trail legs and be ready for the Grand Canyon when I hit that point. And also, I feel like saving the Grand Canyon towards the end of the trail is more like a grand finale, like saving Katahdin for the end of a thru hike on the Appalachian Trail. That's just a preference of mine. I'm not saying that you couldn't have a great trip going Sobo, but I also recently moved my 90-year-old Abuelita, or grandmother, from an assisted living in South Florida to an assisted living up here nearby me in Alabama. She just wasn't getting a lot of visitation from friends and family down there, and up here with me having a more flexible schedule, I knew that I could see her a lot more often, so I'm really excited to have her up here. So I've been getting her established with new doctors, and I felt like it was kind of unfair to bring her up here and then dump all of that on the family that I have up here, and I wanted to see her through that before I went out on an extended hiking trip like a thru hike of the Arizona Trail that'll take approximately 6 to 8 weeks, or maybe longer knowing me. Anyway, she's a real gem, and I feel very fortunate to still have her, and now especially to have her closer to me. Because the Arizona Trail got canned, Aaron and I were going to go and do some shorter hikes in Utah, kind of in lieu of the Arizona Trail. But after we got it all planned out, had purchased the plane tickets, etc., my mom got some kind of scary news from the doctor. She had had some lymph nodes that were enlarged and they weren't going down. The doctor did some scans and told her he found not only, yes, was that lymph node particularly enlarged, but that she also had some spots on her bones, especially on her spine and in her liver, and something on her pancreas. So I went to the appointment with her when she got this news, and the doctor said, we want to do a biopsy of the lymph node. So we're gonna do some surgery and remove that, and you'll need a driver for that. And she turned and looked at me like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be my driver, right? And then we knew from the day she had surgery, 7 days later, she would find out the results of the biopsy. And so knowing that the surgery date and the date that she would find out what was going on would be while I was in Utah, I was like, what Utah trip? Because there's no way I'm fixing to go to Utah or out of town anywhere while my mom might find out that she has either sarcoidosis, they were thinking, which is like an autoimmune thing, or possibly cancer. They didn't feel comfortable ruling that out without doing some tests. So I went with her to get her surgery, and then we went for the results, and they told us that the biopsy was clear. Her lymph node was absolutely normal, other than it had been enlarged. But there were no signs of sarcoidosis or of cancer. And so we were like, yay! But then the doctor's like, well, we're not in the clear yet because we still don't know what the spots are on your bones and your liver and what's going on with the pancreas. So he said that he wanted to do a biopsy of either the liver or the bones, and he would consult the radiologist and then let us know something. So little victories, but about an hour after we left that appointment, not feeling as relieved as we hoped we would, my mom got a call from the doctor himself who said, Miss Mills, I know that you are really stressing out about what's going on here, and I want to let you know I talked to the radiologist, and he happened to look at some scans that you had done back in 2015, 7 years ago, and these same spots were there, and there's really no notable differences. So I'm thinking that you may not even need this biopsy because we feel like if in 7 years this hasn't changed, then it's not really anything to worry about. And my mom said at that moment she felt like she had her life back. So while things have been kind of rough over the last several months, things are starting to look up, and I feel very grateful for this news. So I think they may end up doing a biopsy just to for sure put everything to rest, but we're feeling a whole lot better now than we were several weeks ago. Moving on to the topic of gear. I have been wanting to test out my Xmid Pro 2 since I got it, but I really wanted to test it in a way that was in some sketchy weather, especially since I got such a great test on the Duplex L in Iceland in that really bad windstorm and rain, etc. So with Hurricane Ian coming to the area, I was, as excited as you can be about a hurricane to get outside and test it in hopefully somewhat significant wind and rain. And then the rain prediction kind of faded out, but we were still supposed to have like 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts or something like that. And then that also kind of petered out to a light breeze because Ian moved more east than they had originally projected. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just wait till the next good day of rain around here. Well, in like the last month, it's only rained one more day, and that just happened to be the day that I had some oral surgery. And as much as I was like, hey, maybe I could still get out there and camp, I was definitely not feeling up to it after having a gum graft. So today, if my face looks weird or my mouth looks weird, know that I am just a week out of a gum graft surgery and my face has been swollen. I really kind of looked like a Who from Whoville up until about yesterday, and it's still not quite right. So anyway, there has been a lot going on, but rest assured that I am not done hiking yet. Actually, Mom and I are aiming to go next month out to Cumberland Island in Georgia to do some hiking, a little bit of backpacking and camping. And I had considered going to Death Valley in December, since that might be the only true bearable time to go out there and go backpacking. But they recently had some pretty crazy flooding, so I think I'm gonna have to set that one on the back burner for now. I do have some trails on my nearish future radar and also some in the more distant future, but one thing that I definitely want to complete sooner rather than later is the Eastern Continental Trail. I've been slowly weaving that together. The Appalachian Trail, my through hike of the AT, is a section hike of the Eastern Continental Trail, and the Pinhoti Trail was the same, the Florida Trail. So basically, to complete the ECT, I have the little piece from Key West up to the southern terminus of the Florida Trail, and then the connector from the Florida Trail to the Pinhoti Trail, which is going to be a lot of road walking. And then the section from Mount Katahdin up into Canada, which I would really love to do southbound, so I could finish the entire Eastern Continental Trail on Mount Katahdin and have that be a point where I've finished 2 epic journeys. Eventually, I'd like to add on the International Appalachian Trail, which includes areas in other countries. I've been eyeballing for a while the Sawtooth Wilderness Loop up in Idaho. It's a 62-mile loop, and I love the loops because you could go solo, just park a vehicle, do your thing, come right back to where you started without having to double over on ground you've already covered. But the Sawtooth Loop, that wilderness area, looks absolutely incredible. If you've never checked it out, you should definitely Google it and look at some of the pictures because it's breathtaking. My mom mentioned to me that next year she would love to go do the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu with me. So that's something we're looking into. I've heard you've really got to plan that ahead of time. So if any of y'all have experience with that, I would love to hear how you worked in the logistics for doing that particular trip. Kilimanjaro is definitely on my bucket hiking list. Also, I've got some unfinished business in Glacier National Park in the section of the CDT that goes up through Montana into Canada. I had to take a reroute when I completed my journey of the CDT in 2018, so I would like to do the official section of trail to Waterton Park. The Torres del Paine in South America looks absolutely epic, and I've never been to South America, so that would be really cool. And there's also another trail in Iceland when I can get back there one day that I can't pronounce the name of it. I'm telling you, stuff in Iceland is just tough to pronounce, but they have Arctic foxes, so I'm gonna refer to it as the Arctic Fox Trail. And many of y'all have commented and asked if I still have plans to do the TA in New Zealand, and the answer is yes, that is definitely still on my radar. Things just got a little crazy with COVID, and it seemed very volatile there as far as the different requirements of folks coming in from out of the country and whether you have to quarantine or not. And I didn't want to get over there and not be able to come back, or get over there and spend a lot of time and money quarantining. So I just kind of set that one aside until all of that clears out. There's another trail that I really want to do in the near future, but I don't want to spoil it. I want it to be a surprise, but I'll just tell you, it's got brown bears, volcanoes, and great snowy mountains. And finally, a bit out in the future, I want to hike the Washita Trail. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I know y'all will tell me if I didn't.
Washita, people. It's Washita.
In 2024, because there's going to be another total solar eclipse, and that is in the complete darkness zone. So that's more or less what's been going on in my world and what I've got on my radar as far as backpacking and hiking goes. Now, before I go, I kind of want to fill y'all out and see your thoughts on this. I've had quite a few people comment over the years mentioning, hey Dixie, you should sell prints, or you should run a batch of calendars. So I just want to know if that's something y'all would even care about. And I had thought about doing maybe like a Triple Crown Trail themed calendar, or I could do a separate calendar for each trail, or maybe a fancy May calendar for my fellow dog lovers. So if you've got any thoughts, opinions, suggestions on that, feel free to share, because before I do something like that, I just want to know that there's even any interest in it at all. All right, y'all, well, that is all I have for you today. And I just want to say thank you so much for continuing to support what I do and to cheer me on. I'm kind of in a sentimental spot today, just with everything that's been going on, but also today, as I'm recording this right now, this is 7 years since I summited Mount Katahdin and completed my thru hike of the Appalachian Trail. And it just kind of blows my mind that I've been very fortunate to continue to do what I love for 7 years. And I don't take for granted that that's because y'all continue to watch my content, to share what I do. So thank y'all very, very much. And we will see y'all next time.